Welcome to OkState Daily. Scott McKinley joins here as we talk about Oklahoma State. Glad you joined in with us here at OkState Daily. So, hey, Scott, some thoughts on the Texas Tech game, the Colorado game, the season overall, just kind of where you're at today.
Well, starting with the Tech game, at least the good thing is our guys they haven't quit. Our guys were giving good effort on Saturday. We were able to get Ollie Gordon going, which is something we hadn't seen in a very, very long time. I think he went over 150 yards, had three scores. Milo Aki-Smith looked very good. I thought for no more experience than what he had. So that was a little bit of a bright spot. Defense is still giving up way too many big plays. That's just if nothing, they've been consistent, unfortunately, but consistently not good. But
yeah, so consistent strike zone in baseball, if it's consistently bad, does that still mean you're good, even though you're consistent?
Yeah. At least you know what it's going to be. It's probably,
but it's still bad, right?
Yeah, it's still bad. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. But no, I think I felt, and I know I'm not into moral victories, and I know you aren't either, but at least I felt better about it this Saturday, that at least we were putting up a little bit of a fight, that we were there were some good things that were going on. We just came up a little short in the end, which, okay, we can accept that. It's the non-factor games that I think bother me more than anything, where we're just flat we're not even being competitive. I think looking forward to Colorado, I think it's going to be incredibly difficult to win up there. But it'd be just like the Big 12 season, the way things had gone for us to go get our first win at Colorado on Friday. But yeah. if I was a betting man, I would not pick the Cowboys. But I mean, I got to have hope. I do think that when we look at the season overall, we've kind of been, unfortunately, we've been building to this point for some time now, to where it's finally going to be over, and hopefully changes are going to start to be made. The portal's about to open, and I think the good thing on that is, as OSU fans, we're about to start getting excited about something.
Yes.
There's going to be some players coming in that we're saying, hey, this is going to be some good thing. I do think there's going to be changes in the coaching staff. So my hope is that after Friday's game, no matter what happens on Friday, that we're going to actually have hopefully some more hopeful things to be talking about moving forward.
Yeah, and also I think the coaches have done a good job. It's kind of a debate. I talked about this with Chase yesterday. Okay, so you make it to the Big 12 title game last year. You beat OU. There's no way coming into the season anybody other than Alan Bowman's your starting quarterback, right? And so then you win your first 3 games. There's no way that you go into the Utah game with anybody other than Alan Bowman your starting quarterback, right? And then he actually pulled him in the second half of that game, which I think surprised everybody else. Then Garrett Rangel didn't play very well. And so coming out of that situation, although everybody's kind of pissed about the way it went, there's still no way that anybody could say that anybody other than Alan Bowman should be the starting quarterback. And then he pulls the trigger at BYU, and then Garrett Rangel gets hurt. And then he waited to play Milo Aki-Smith in a home game against maybe the worst pass defense in America to set Milo Aki-Smith up for success, versus starting him on the road, maybe like at a K-State, or not at a K-State, or at any of the other different places we played on the road. So I think there's an argument to be made that actually the quarterback situation in terms of the decision-making has been almost about 100% spot on. Am I too rosy there?
Maybe slightly. I think, but at the same time, I think what is hard for fans to realize is, how many more wins do you think we would have had if we would have played Milo Aki-Smith earlier? I don't think we would have had any. Just being honest, I don't think that it would have made a difference. Now, would it have furthered his development maybe a little quicker? That's possible. I think an argument can be made for that. But the idea that, okay, well, if we'd have been playing Smith this whole time, we'd be 8-4 and going to a bowl game. I don't think that's reality. We've got issues in other parts of a lot of other issues in other parts of the team. So no, I don't think that handling of the quarterbacks has been terrible. Would I have liked to have seen it a little bit quicker, maybe pulling Bowman, get him out of there? Possibly, yes. But to your point, and I agree with you, during the Utah game, going into that game, how many OSU fans were clamoring for somebody else? Bowman had been
Right.
fine up to that point. That there was no evidence at that point in time to say that we needed to go a different direction. But it's like anything else. When things are going sideways, you're looking for, all right, well, this is the main cause. And I think the problem is with this season, it hasn't been one thing; it's been a number of things.
Yes.
It's okay. Yes, we've gotten bad. We've had poor quarterback play at for a lot of the season with Bowman. With whatever, offensive line hasn't been opening up holes for Ollie Gordon. The defense had some injuries. And they're giving up big plays. They're giving up yards in chunks I've never seen. I feel like I've never seen before as an
third down conversions. God dang, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, so it's not. I think a lot of times we want to pin it on it's one thing. Unfortunately, I think this year it's not. It's been a host of different things. And frankly, whatever coaching staff we have next year, they got a lot to fix before we're going to be really competitive.
I think we're a lot closer on the offensive side of the ball than people think, though. I think you have the quarterback situation settled. I've said several times now, I don't think you need to go get a transfer portal quarterback because I think you need to use all of that money on your offensive line. You need to use it maybe on a receiver if Deshaun's dribbling doesn't come back. You need to use it on defensive linemen. You need to use it on secondary guys. I think all that money you'd have to spend on getting a transfer portal quarterback that might or might not be better than anybody you already have on campus could be spent better elsewhere. This is pro sports to its T. I mean, this is off-season baseball this is off-season for all the baseball teams now. And these are all the conversations we're having on Dodgers Daily. So I think the offense is a lot closer than maybe we thought going in before we saw Milwaukee Smith.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, well, it's like anything else. When you're not getting good quarterback play or you have an injury at quarterback like we had with Rangel and everything, man, it's hard week to week to, okay, what are we doing? Because each guy has a slightly different skill set. Obviously Milwaukee Smith is a better runner than Bowman. Rangel's a better runner than Bowman, but there are certain passes that Bowman actually probably does throw better than Milwaukee Smith. I mean, you're having to maneuver that stuff on a week to week basis this year. So I give a little bit of grace, I would say, on that side of things. And I agree with you on the NIL. I think that's kind of where I'm at is, okay, how are we going to move forward? And I said many times before, in my opinion, let's go get linemen. We need to get the offensive, defensive line shored up. Because I do think we're going to have some decent skill guys coming back, but we've got to start getting better line play, and we've got to find a way to get guys on the ground on defense. Just one way or another, we've got to shore up that defense.
Yeah. I asked Chase this yesterday, but kind of my question on the defensive side of the ball is you have this young coordinator who, if you're the coordinator, you're responsible for all of it. So you're the one that takes all the responsibility, not trying to create any different narrative other than that. But I am trying to create an extra narrative so all these other experienced position coaches on the defensive side of the ball, how in the hell are they getting such a big pass from OSU fans?
Yeah, no.
I mean, they should be being held accountable maybe more than he is, right? I mean, our secondary play is atrocious.
Yes, no, I would completely agree with that. I think, and the other thing that I saw Saturday is there were several times where we actually had, in my opinion, we had the right defense called.
Yes, absolutely, we did.
But we just flat didn't. We didn't make the play. And we all know the old saying, it's not about the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmies and the Joes. Okay, well, that does fall on Nardo, but that also falls on our position coaches.
Yeah, our technique is terrible, man. The way that our linebackers take on linemen that are climbing to them, the way that they read and react, the way that our secondary turns around, tries to find the ball, our individual techniques suck. I mean, point blank. Yeah. That to me goes on the position coaches.
Yes, I would agree. I think everybody, which is what I've said on many times on when it comes to coaching, who's coming in, who's coming out. I know Nardo has squarely got the target on his back, and I don't.
Rightfully so.
I'll be flat. I mean, and fairly so. But at the same time, I think position coach has got to have targets on their back just as well too, because that's some of the stuff we've seen. That's you can't blame everything on the defensive coordinator. When I actually think several times he had the right defense dialed up. But my gosh, somebody's got to make a play and have good technique,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, kind of my point is I actually want the defense fixed. I don't want a move just to be made just to say, okay, here, everybody, I'm making this move now. Go shut up. That's not what I want. I want this thing actually to get fixed. So I don't think just saying go fire Brian Nardo actually fixes what actually happened to our defense this year. What happened to our defense this year was that we couldn't tackle. Our technique was terrible. We were in the wrong spot a lot. We were not aggressive enough. Our rush lanes were bad. We heard Coach Gundy say that several different times. So, yeah, okay, go fire your defensive coordinator. That's fine. But what are we going to do about all these other issues that actually weren't directly related to him? How are we going to handle those issues? That's my question.
Yeah, and I think if Gundy, if Nardo is let go, I think that's the first thing Gundy's going to be looking for is who can I bring in that's going to actually fix this thing? Because like you said, if it's not, I don't see any good in just having a rotating carousel of coordinators coming in and out of here.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I mean that's not good either. We've got to find somebody that's actually going to fix those issues, and it's going to lead to some victories. I'm not informed enough on who is out there,
right?
To throw out any names of who I would go after, that kind of deal. But again, and I've said this before, I think every coach on the staff. I think Gundy's going to be having some pretty tough conversations in the next couple of weeks with everybody on the staff. So yeah. We'll see what happens with that.
Including the kids, the 105. I've communicated with a couple of parents whose kids are probably going to be on the chopping block because of this 105 rule, and that's going to be gut wrenching. I think Mike Gundy definitely is 100% correct on that. So another conversation talked about with Chase yesterday. Here's the dilemma you have as an OSU fan whenever you look at this offense. Okay, first of all, the two games that weren't quarterbacked by Alan Bowman were fantastic on offense this year, right? And Alan Bowman's not going to be the quarterback next year. So for all the quarterbacks that are coming back, Casey Dunn has shown that he can dial up a really, really nice game plan with those quarterbacks. And then also just all of the things that Casey Dunn has already done for this university with the recruiting and the networking with OSU, with all the high school coaches and all the former players that are coaches that now that love Casey Dunn, right? Like an Adarius Bowman, who's back in Chattanooga, Tennessee, coaching. Well, I mean, that guy loves OSU and the networks and Casey Dunn and the people that are here and that kind of thing, right? So there's that aspect of it. There's the aspect of it that Casey Dunn has shown that he knows how to use the quarterbacks that are coming back. What the hell do you do on this offensive side, man? It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I've thought about that. I've had a number of conversations with people in the last few days about Dunn. That's kind of I feel like it's more of a conundrum because he has had success here. The guy knows how to recruit. The guy he's been a phenomenal wide receiver coach. I think the way that I think Gundy's going to approach this is, okay, we're not happy with our overall offensive performance. I mean, just overall. Now, granted, a lot of that has to come down to quarterback play. Okay, maybe some of that's responsible by Dunn, some of it's not. I think the question, what he's going to have to look at is, okay, is Dunn, again, it's who's the replacement? Because if all we're going to do is fire Dunn just to make fans happy, but we're going to bring in somebody that, in Gundy's opinion, isn't as good as Dunn, what are we doing?
From an overall perspective, not as good of a recruiter, right. Doesn't have the same networks, all that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're going to have to look at the whole thing, not just one little element of it. I think I really don't know what you do with Casey because like I said, because I think I know the temperature of the fan base right now says that they want to get rid of him, but at the same
that doesn't
time,
matter though.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think Gundy, and this is one time where I actually want Gundy to, what do you think is best? Don't listen to the noise.
Correct.
Because he's in meetings with him. He talks with him a lot more than the rest of us do. I think Nardo is a different story.
Yeah. What do you lose if he hasn't created networks here? He hasn't recruited people. What do you lose if you remove Nardo? I mean, you're not losing the in grounds and just kind of the nitty gritties that Casey Dunn has built here to OSU. You might be gaining a better play caller if you go get an offensive coordinator, but you're losing a lot at Casey Dunn. I mean, you are losing a lot with Casey Dunn. If you remove Nardo, I'm not sure there's really anything that you're losing other than a play caller, right?
Yeah, and I agree, and I think that's what I've said before is we don't have any evidence.
Yes,
you know what I mean. And again, I think Nardo could be a really good coordinator, and it just didn't work out here.
Yes,
but we don't have evidence to tell us that. At least with Dunn, we have evidence. We know he's a good recruiter. We know all those things you just mentioned. So I think that it is. I would say it is. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I say it's less likely that Dunn goes anywhere than it would be if that Nardo maybe going somewhere. So I think that's fair.
Well, then you have the aspect of it of, God, do you really want to create that much turnover all at once? I mean, is that much turnover all at once actually a plus positive?
Yeah. I've thought about that. So you think
wow.
So could you imagine a season where we're going to have a huge portal year? We know that.
Yeah.
It's a year where we really need good recruiting coming in.
Yes.
Which, I mean, we really, really need to get on the recruiting trail hard. You want to have 2 coordinators that you're going to have to hire quickly.
Several position coaches that need, golly, man.
Yeah, my gosh. I mean, do you want to?
It's worse than just saying we're losing games right now. It's kind of what we're saying.
Right. In my opinion, where I'm at right now, I think that if the argument can be made that we need to keep Dunn from a recruiting standpoint, let him work with the quarterbacks, those kind of things. I think we're probably going to have, in my opinion, I think Nardo is probably gone. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong on that. I think there's position coaches on defense that are probably likely going to be gone. I think there could be 1 or 2 position coaches on offense that could be I'm looking at offensive line. That could be there could be a case to be made for change to be made there. But I'm with you. I just don't think that I don't think the best solution for Oklahoma State is to have that much turmoil going into the offseason, that much new on everything. And the other thing is that's not Gundy's style. Gundy has not. I don't think he's going to take a match and throw gasoline on a fire and just watch it burn. So my guess is there will be some changes, but I wouldn't expect a complete overhaul of the system. And rightfully, I don't think that is the right solution. I know everybody wants to just fire everybody, start all over right now because we've had an absolutely horrendous season. But at the same time, we got to be, as you say, we got to have at least a little bit of a voice of reason with that. So,
see, I always like to work from the ground up. I mean, coordinator, to me, he's at the top. So, I would start with the position coaches first. I mean, maybe that's a little bit too hardcore, but I just always look at them when you look at the execution aspect of it, to me, goes back to the position coaches. So I don't think necessarily you have to remove guys, but I think maybe you could move a Joe Bob Clements back down to the defensive line instead of being a linebackers coach. Go get you a premier linebackers coach, and then do something with your secondary. Either change your philosophies on it, or go find somebody else as a secondary coach. And then whatever you want to do with your defensive coordinator, fine. But to me, until you actually fix those issues, until you fix the technique and the execution of your linebackers, until you fix just the defensive line not being able to get off of blocks, and then having bad rush lanes, which goes directly back to position coaching, until you fix actually the technique of our corners and safeties, I don't care what defensive coordinator you bring in here. It's not going to work. That's my point.
Yeah, no, and it's something I've said for years. Well, I've seen this in the level that I officiate, that I will see coaches that are very, very good coaches. They know what they're doing, but if they don't have the athletes to execute, it's all for naught. So I think to me, when I look back at, I do think we need a change in recruiting philosophy a little bit. Yes, there's a reason, as I've said before, just because you go out and get the high caliber guys doesn't guarantee that they're going to hit, but they hit more than the lower star guys. That's reality. So right now we need really good recruiting. We need to get better athletes in here. And frankly, we just need to have guys, like you said, position coaches. They're going to teach better technique. We're going to make sure we're in the right position. Because that's the other thing I said is you can be the best athlete on the field, but if you're 10 yards out of position, I don't care how fast you are.
Or who your coordinator is. What play you have called. If your kids run it wrong, or they can't tackle, or they won't turn around and play the ball, or they rush right past the quarterback. And doesn't matter. I'm just telling you, it doesn't matter what play you call.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's the key. Now, again, Nardo, Dunn, they're all responsible for those things. But at the same time, okay, at a certain point, look, for all we know, they could have been telling these kids the right thing every single day in practice, trying to beat it into their head, and they're just not doing it on Saturdays. I mean, that's we've all seen that too with athletes as well. So I don't know. I think I'm in kind of a sit back and wait mode right now.
Trust Gundy mode.
I think Gundy has earned the right to okay, he says he's got a plan. We've got to trust him that we're going to do it. The other thought that I would say that I think is difficult for OSU fans is Mike Gundy has done a phenomenal job in the last 20 years that we didn't really have what I would call a clunker of a season like we've had this year. Obviously,
that's been his sauce right there. Yeah, that's been his formula. Yeah,
and I think as fans, we kind of got lulled into belief that, well, under Gundy, this will never happen again. Well, it's happened.
Yes,
and that's not. And I know that's not what he wants. That's not what the university wants. But again, I think what we've got to be focused on is this. Let's make this a 1-year deal, and let's get back to doing what we do. What we do next year, and whatever changes need to be made. Gundy, as of right now, I've got enough evidence that Gundy can do that. Let's trust him for now. Now, if we come out next year and it's the same stuff and changes haven't been made, okay, exactly. we're sitting in a different. I'm going to have a different opinion on it. But at this point in time, let's trust him. Let's go make the changes need to be made. Let's go get the players in here. The other thing I'd say to the fans, look, guys, we're going to need NIL dollars.
Yep.
And I mean, we need every NIL dollar we can get to go get this.
Now's a bad time to boycott.
Yeah. We need the resources right now. If we're going to fix this, we need to get the resources flowing into that athletic department. So I think that'd be my hope for OSU fans is that we keep supporting the school, keep supporting the NIL fund.
Yeah. So I'm going to put you in the offensive coordinator's shoes. Your offensive line can't block. Your running back is impatient and running right up the back of your center just about every play and not being patient and trying to find the hole. Your quarterback wants to bail every time there's any kind of pressure on him, and then he's wildly inaccurate whenever he does throw the ball. As an offensive coordinator, I give you that scenario. What do you do?
I go fishing. No.
I mean, really though. I mean, and I say, okay, now go beat Kansas State and Utah and BYU and all. I mean, what do you do, right? I mean, that's kind of what I'm trying to. I mean, I know people aren't happy with Casey Dunn, but I mean, what do you do, right? And then you actually get those problems solved, like having a quarterback that can complete a pass and Ollie Gordon running the ball well, and having a quarterback that can run it, and then he does call a good game, right? I mean, so. I give you that scenario. How do you coordinate an offense in that scenario?
You really can't. I mean, the one thought that I've had on that is everything plays off itself in football. If you can't run the ball,
right?
Okay. Does that? Well, now they can sit back. They can drop more guys into coverage. It's going to affect your passing game. If you can't pass the ball, well, now they can stack the box, and now they can just shut it down. And let's go back to with Alan Bowman. Basically, we've got a quarterback that is not mobile. We've seen a little bit in tuck and run every now and then as a surprise, but he's not really all that mobile. Well, he's still throwing off his back foot, and that's been very well documented. He's not throwing the ball well. Well, now all they have to do is just key on Ollie Gordon on the run game. It's pretty easy to stop. So what I'm saying with that is, if you have an element of your offense that is just flat awful, it's going to bleed over and affect every other element of your offense. If we would have gotten even decent quarterback play in some of those games, it probably would have opened up other things that they would have at least had to have respected the fact that Bowman can throw the ball, or they would have to respect that he might be able to pull it and run on an RPO or something. And I think that's the problem is that everything this year, it's the snowball effect. Is one thing goes bad, it's causing other things to go bad, and it makes it look like, well, we're not doing anything right. Well, that's not necessarily the case, because here's the crazy thing: we were very close to winning that game Saturday. It wasn't like we didn't just now Tech is not world beaters. I'd give everybody that. But, I think sometimes things can seem like we are so far down, we are so far away, and we may not be that far away. We may just be a couple players, a couple play calls, those kind of things away. But it hasn't looked like that. Because football is a snowball game. Yeah. That's another thing I've said for years is in baseball, if a team has got a slight advantage, okay, they may win by 1 run, 2 runs, they may even get beat, that kind of deal. In football, if there's a slight of advantage at multiple different places, the end score can end up looking like it was just an absolute blowout, but really it was just slight advantages in multiple different areas that caused it. So I hope that's making sense to everybody.
Yeah. I think we're on defense. I think we're a lot closer than it looks from a personnel perspective. I think Cam Smith and Dylan Smith and all those guys, and certainly Corey Black this year. We're not going to have him next year. But then also Trey Rucker, who we're not going to have back. And those guys, I think those guys are very well good enough. What we saw last year to play good defense at times. I think Iman Oates and Colin Clay and those guys are certainly good enough, and Justin Kirkland are good enough to at least be decent up front, right? Of course, you struggled at linebacker, but we know Kendall Daniels, from a physical perspective, has the physical tools to do whatever he wants on a football field. Now, does he have the drive and the work ethic and the toughness? That's kind of, I think, what all Oklahoma State fans are questioning. So I think we're a lot closer than you think on the defensive side of the ball from a personnel perspective, but we're way far away from, we're a long ways away from being any good. And then, so let me ask you this too. So for all the fans who are on the boat of the only way that I can get Chad Weiberg's attention to make changes that need to be made with Coach Gundy is by hurting Oklahoma State in the pocketbook. What do you tell those people?
What I think what I would ask everybody is, do you think Mike Gundy's having fun this year? Do you think Chad Weiberg's having fun this year?
I think they tell you he doesn't care because he's making $8 million a year or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I do. I think that's part of Gundy's personality, that he just doesn't. He has never been one to show that much emotion.
Right.
Even
point.
Think about it. You go back. I want OSU fans that they're thinking that, go back and watch Mike Gundy when we win Bedlam or we win a huge game. He's the same Mike Gundy.
Yeah, he is.
It's you know what I mean?
That's a great point, Scott.
He's not. That's just not his MO. That doesn't mean that he doesn't care or anything like that. I think the thing that I would say is, look, guys, in order for us to win, we got to have resources. That's
right.
That's been the whole thing from the get go. And let's be honest, we have been behind on NIL funds. That's something we were late to the game, and frankly, I think it's kind of showing this year. Now, I think that our administration is taking some steps to try to address that. We all know about the huge concert and everything that's going on in the spring. Mm-hmm. I know they're saying other things going on behind the scenes. We tried to do the QR code until the NCAA wouldn't let us do that. So it's not like that they're not. I think what OSU fans need to be aware of is our administration they're aware that there's a problem. They're aware that we have shortfalls in certain areas. I think what we need to do is let's try to be good partners with them to address those issues, so that we can try to get this program back to where we all want it to be. I know Chad Weiberg wants this program to be successful. I know Casey Schrum wants this program to be successful. Mike Gundy wants this program to be successful. I guarantee you, Mike Gundy does not. They asked him about retiring the other day. Well, he sort of in a roundabout way asked him about it. Mike Gundy does not want to go out with a 3-9 team. I guarantee you, he does not. He wants to leave this program in better shape than where he found it. And I think that would be my deal, Scott. So let's help him do that. Let's try to help. Let's help the administration try to turn this thing around. And again, I do think there are changes coming. I don't think this is. I don't think we're going to have the exact same look, exact same team, whatever next year. But we gotta cowboy up and let's support the program.
Pristine comments there. I'm going to leave that be right there. Those comments were so fantastic. I think we need to end on that. Other than I'm going to say, no more Cleveland Brown uniforms. Golly,
oh my gosh.
Believe
yes,
it.
I thought the exact same thing when I saw. I'm like, my gosh, this looks like Cleveland.
Cleveland sucks at football. We don't want that look, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Scott. Thanks, man.
Sounds good.